If we organize, we can change the world. When we've organized in the past, we have changed the world, even when things seemed most challenging. And we can do that now. Andrea Miller certainly knows that. I met her, I don't know, I'm going to say 15 years ago, and she was the crackerjack of the group. She did everything that you could possibly think of doing to make the events, to make the organizing, to make the outreach a success, sending our message, recruiting members, raising the funds, and winning on the issues and the elections. That's what you all do tonight. I thank all of you who are on there, over 100 people on this Zoom call, and these extraordinary candidates of Heidi, Katie, Ray, Susanna, and others that we may hear from a little later. You are a remarkable group, and we need you. Now, I'm not in Virginia, but we need you for Virginia and for the rest of the country, because we are now on a knife's edge between freedom and between authoritarian rule, and is particularly focused around reproductive freedom, though it's also other freedoms, the freedom to vote, the freedom to thrive. On reproductive freedom, it's the most intimate decision we make in our lives about when or whether or with whom we have a child. And the MAGA folks are after this to limit us. But if we organize, we can push this back and we can reassert our freedom. I'll tell you my own history. There's some who are younger and may not remember life before Roe v. Wade. I certainly do. I had just been involved in the civil rights movement in the 1960s. 1964, I was in Mississippi in the Freedom Summer Project. Many of you may have heard about that, where it gained notoriety when Northern students came down to help very courageous African Americans in Mississippi who were struggling for the right to vote, for the freedom to vote. And 3 of the young volunteers, Andrew Goodman, James Chaney, and Michael Schwerner, were killed at the hands of the Klan. But within a year, we won a Voting Rights Act because people organized. Now, I returned to my campus, and a friend of mine had been raped at knife point in her bed in off-campus housing. We went with her to student health to get a gynecological exam, and she was given a lecture on her promiscuity and told that student health didn't cover gynecological exams. That's what life was like in an era before we had a strong women's movement, a strong political movement that fought for freedom for us all. Before Roe, there were septic abortion wards where women who had either done injury to themselves because they weren't prepared to have a child, or someone had done injury to them. They often went, some were quite ill, and some died. And we will face this again because of this pushback on Roe and on this most intimate freedom of our lives. In 1965, a friend of mine mentioned to me that his sister was pregnant, not ready to have a child, and could I help her find someone to provide an abortion? I had never thought about the issue before, and 3 people talking about preparing for an abortion was a conspiracy to commit a felony. I don't think I quite knew it at the point, but I said I'd do what I could to help. I went and found a doctor, an extraordinary doctor, T.R.M. Howard, we should know his name. And he, I didn't know it at the time, had been a courageous civil rights leader in Mississippi until his name appeared on a Klan death list. And he came to Chicago, where I was in school. He performed the abortion, and I thought I had done one good deed, and that was it. But word spread, and someone else called. I made the arrangement again with Dr. Howard, and then word spread, and someone else called. And I realized as an organizer, I had to set up a system. Because it wasn't legal, rather than saying a name and a phone number, we said, pregnant, don't want to be, and we called the system Jane. Over time, I recruited over 100 women to be part of what became called Jane, or the service. And the women of Jane learned how to do the procedures and themselves did over 11,000 abortions before Roe. There's much more to the story. There's an Academy Award nominated film on the short list called The Janes. There's another movie with Sigourney Weaver called Call Jane. And there's much more to the story, plays and other shows about it. But you are the people who are making the history now. Better than a play, better than a movie, better than the story. You are making the history now. You are saving lives on this most intimate freedom, on reproductive freedom, on the freedom to vote, on the freedom to thrive, on the freedom to have a democracy. And so I thank those candidates who are on the call. I thank all of you who'll do the work, who'll write the postcards, who'll do the texts, who'll do the calls, who'll go door to door. It's doing the work that will make the difference. Thank you for your, I say the 4 M's. Thank you for recruiting the members. Thank you for sending out the message. Thank you for raising the money. And thank you for showing up in the movement. When you organize,